One thing that I learned after giving this presentation to the ICT is that many people are actually very anxious about hiring a VA, and they come up with a lot of reasons to put it off or not do it. So I'm asking everybody in these sessions to be brave and to take all those reasons you've probably already come up with about why you can't hire a VA and stuff them in a filing cabinet somewhere for the next 10 minutes. All right. I want you to get out the paper and pencil. Thanks, Matt. Um, Paper and pencil or pen, whatever it is you chose to get. I want you to make two columns on the paper. All right. In the first column, I want you to say things I don't like to do, and this will be part of your business. And then things I should not be doing. All right. So things you don't like to do and things you should not be doing. And these are two columns in your VA wish list. We're going to start that wish list. I'm going to give you a minute and a half to populate these. So do a brainstorm, start writing in the tasks under whatever column that works for you. I'll give you a minute. All right, write down one or two more things. As I said, this is the start of your VA wish list. You're going to need to finish populating this plus the third column. This is all on the handout for this session. What I want you to do is look at the list that you've created right now, and I want you to put a star next to the task that you think is the priority, the one that you immediately need someone to take over right now. And then later this week or maybe next week before the holidays, I want you to write a description of that task. Now, not just what it is and how you do it. I want you to also write what are your expectations for quality? What are your standards? Right? And start to think about those. This is the biggest question I get about hiring a VA. But what if they don't do it right? What if they don't meet my standards? What if they, right? So the first thing is that manual of me, you need to include in that your definition of quality and standards. Where's the bar and where do you set it? Okay. If you don't tell people what your expectations are for quality, they're going to make up their own expectations and they may not be yours. All right. This person is working for you. You are paying them. Tell them what your standards are. That's how you get them to do the quality that you want. All right. So let's do a quick check-in. How did this exercise make you guys feel? Do you feel lighter and liberated, or do you feel a little heavier and more anxious? And just come off mute.
I'm a little anxious because I don't have the workload yet to be able to afford a virtual assistant. So I'm thinking about things like I hate invoicing.
Mhm.
Is there somebody who does that for a group of organizations and I could just buy a piece of their time? Um, that's kind of where I'm at. So the full job description is like, ah.
So what I would say if you're in that position where you're brand new and new to consulting, what you need to do is really think about what are my standards? What are my SOPs? What are my standard operating procedures? How do I want invoicing to work?
Yeah, okay.
Right? Write it down. I did not do that. And when I brought my VA in, the first thing he said was, do you have standard operating procedures for any of these administrative tasks that you want me to do? And I was like, well, in my head. So the first thing we did was write SOPs. And then he improved all those SOPs. So if you're new, start there. I would also say that it's going to cost you the same amount of money to hire somebody just to do your invoicing as it would to bring in somebody who's going to do your invoicing and manage your email and manage your calendar and all those things a VA might be doing for you. Um, so you may not be quite ready for it, but my other piece of advice is hire the VA before you need the VA. All right. I did not do that. I got slammed with a bunch of contracts and subcontractors and had to hire my VA immediately. He had no time to kind of, get used to me and work and whatever. Thank God he's brilliant and we get along great because it was a good match. But you want to give someone a little bit more time to get used to working with you before they get slammed with like, here's 5 contracts and here's 10 subcontractors that need to be onboarded and here's this, that, and the other thing, right? So hire the VA before you need the VA. Anybody else?
Learning to get the SOPs together. I don't have a VA because I have an office manager who serves in the roles, but it was really helpful when I finally brought that person on. I skipped straight to the office manager piece. But it was super nice to have somebody doing that invoicing and keeping me on track with QuickBooks. So I was very appreciative when I finally found that person to do that. And it was hard for me to give up that control, but it was a release.
That's the other thing I hear is people they don't want to give up the control. And at some point you need the brain space back and the time back. And I want you all to think about and look at those tasks you just wrote down. How much time do you think you'd get back each month if you handed those tasks off to somebody else? And what would you do with that time? That's the important part, right? There's more time for you to do the evaluation work and the technical work, but there's also more time for you, in my case, to volunteer someplace, right? And to do something else that's going to, make your soul feel good. So, um, you know, think about it that way too. Um, you really need to control administrative tasks. If you have written things down and worked with them and they're doing things according to your standards, then yeah, you can let go of that.
So for Brianne and Emily who work with me at Goshen, if there are things that could support you, that's something that perhaps Emily Johnson, who's here helping us today, they might be able to help Emily Love and Brianne. So if those are some of the things you wrote down, we may be able to discuss how she could support you as well, if you're not thinking about that yet.
Yeah. And there's a couple of roles for a VA. Office manager is one of them, and they're going to handle, invoicing in your calendar and managing schedules and emails and all that kind of stuff. Also project management too, like reminding people that, hey, you're supposed to be sending us data. Oh, hey, don't forget, blah, blah, blah. Here are the minutes to this past meeting. Here are the next steps. I've put all this in Asana. This is what my VA does for me, right? He takes all that stuff and puts it in Asana so that the team knows like these are the next steps. We're all together. I do not schedule meetings or even interviews with people to collect data anymore. My VA does that. So.
Oh, Kelly, surprise, you get an extra minute this time because
Okay.
we just kind of did that on the sly. We didn't tell anybody.
Oh, all right. Robin, we haven't heard from you. Did you want to ask a question or share anything?
No, I guess my question though is where do you find a virtual assistant?
Excellent question. So there are many agencies out there. You just need to Google them, but also ask your colleagues. That's what I did. I asked everybody in the ICTIG. I will tell you that Peachtree is generally the organization, the agency that evaluators seem to be choosing. It's the one that I chose after interviewing several agencies. I do recommend that you interview the agency and find out how do they match people, what do they pay people, how do they support you beyond just matching you to a VA?